LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga is a melting pot of confusing narrative choices, dramatically varied gameplay, and, crucially, sheer fun in a galaxy far, far away. In 2005, TT Games swung its pickaxe and struck oil with LEGO Star Wars the video game. Revolutionary at its time, that carefully crafted assembly of the prequel trilogy in virtual bricks was hailed upon release as not just the best LEGO video game to date, but also one of the best Star Wars games of all time. But for the decade and a half and countless games that followed, the studio effectively downed tools and stopped digging, content with the bounties it had discovered at the first time of asking. The original formula was mined into oblivion with only minor tweaks along the way. Now, 3 years after it was announced, LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga has finally arrived. And across 9 different movies, 20 different planets, and roughly 400 characters, TT Games has done its utmost to bring the tired LEGO video game formula kicking and screaming into the 2020s, for better or worse. On the surface, this is very much an 8th generation game, and in many ways radically different to the rest of TT Games' output for the past decade and a half. But bubbling away below the shiny graphics, new camera angle, and tweaked combat systems are all the same trappings of basic puzzles, shallow gameplay, and repetitive content that have plagued this series for more than one generation of consoles. Is that a bad thing? Not necessarily. There's something comfortingly familiar about a LEGO video game, and it's been 3 years since the last one, the LEGO Movie 2 video game, and a whopping 6 years since the last time the studio ventured into the galaxy far, far away in LEGO Star Wars The Force Awakens. And to the studio's credit, many of the changes here do genuinely shine. The first thing you notice when booting up the game, and will likely never fail to appreciate throughout your time with it, is just how incredible it looks. We're still talking LEGO, so it's largely toyetic over realistic, simple shadows, bright colours, but neat touches like weathering in sandy and snowy environments and atmospheric lighting push things to the edge without sacrificing the sense that we're just playing in a big toy box. The Skywalker Saga also tries something new with the gameplay. Yes, you're still running from one area to another, slicing up or shooting enemies, solving a couple of puzzles, then moving on. But there's enough variety weaved through the game's core 9 episodes and 45 levels that you'll never really feel bored. One minute you're gunning down stormtroopers, the next you're locked in lightsaber combat. Then you're up in space getting to grips with dogfighting, and what's this, now it's a tower defense game? There are a lot of ingredients tossed into the big old cooking pot that's given us the Skywalker Saga. There had to be, across this many levels. But even if not all of them sing, space combat feels oddly sluggish at times and the races will have you tearing your hair out as is the LEGO video game way, they're enough to keep you engaged. And it all feels way more involved than any previous LEGO game too. Aiming with the left trigger and shooting with the right doesn't feel like it belongs in a LEGO video game at first. Muscle memory had us automatically hitting the melee button for a little while, but eventually it all clicks, especially with the new over-the-shoulder camera angle, which replaces the classic aerial view to really bring you into what's going on. You're down there on the floor with all your minifigures, and you don't even have to make the pew pew noises. Gloriously, there's an unlockable extra that does that for you. That said, the Skywalker Saga also can't escape the inevitable conclusion of any Star Wars game that gives you the chance to wield a lightsaber, and that is that you're always going to choose the lightsaber. Shooting baddies with blasters is alright, but as soon as you unlock your first Jedi character, you are never going to want to go back. The good news is that lightsaber combat has also had a refresh, even if it's a little more surface level than gunplay. Not every lightsaber fight in Episode 3 is playable in LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga, however, which brings us to our main point of contention with the game. Its squashed, rewritten, and altogether confusing narrative. As an ultimate celebration of all 9 mainline Star Wars movies, it's consequently a little wide of the mark. The game is broken into short levels interspersed with open world gameplay. This has the bonus of making everything feel more accessible, but it also begs the question, why bother with levels at all? If the open world segments that sit between them aren't replayable, and they aren't, why stick rigidly to particular elements of the LEGO video game formula that might have otherwise been best left behind? On one hand, it does give you more chance to naturally experience and explore the vast open world TT Games has created, and it really is expansive. But when you're flying to a planet simply to watch a cutscene, as happens on more than one occasion, you do begin to question some of the narrative choices. These open worlds, probably by virtue of their sheer size, can feel a little empty at times too, with not much more to do in certain areas than smash stuff for studs. That's not necessarily a bad thing, because cramming every corner with side quests could have made these spaces feel overwhelming. As is, there are still plenty of missions to dive into beyond the main stories, but don't expect anything too involved. You'll mostly be repeating the same gameplay loop of exploring areas, chatting with NPCs, and beating up enemies. Most of these quests, some of which involve painfully drawn-out galaxy hopping, will reward you with Kyber bricks, the Skywalker Saga's version of gold bricks, of which there are a total of 1,166 to collect. That should give you some sense of how much is packed into this game, and new characters to unlock. It means there's basically always something to do, though such is the nature of LEGO video games that you'll probably want to complete at least one trilogy of movies before you venture out into free play mode. Exploring the galaxy isn't as much fun when you realise you've yet to unlock a character with a particular class and can't complete a puzzle or mission you've encountered, so best to make your way through some of the story first. Also slightly questionable is the voice acting, at least in parts. When TT Games first made the switch to dialogue rather than mumbling, which can be turned on here in the extras menu, with LEGO Batman 2 DC Superheroes and LEGO Lord of the Rings, it frequently relied on pulling dialogue directly from its source material. The key to making it work, however, was that it then combined those lines with visual gags, or simply juggled around the order to retain the studio's classic sense of humour. For the Skywalker Saga, the studio has seemingly chosen to record all new dialogue, which opens the door to moving beyond the movies with original lines and jokes, some of which work, some don't. Unfortunately, it also opens another door, one with a big sign on it that says, "These aren't the actors you're looking for." Hearing the movie dialogue we can probably all recite off the top of our heads delivered by new actors, many of whom just sound like bad impressions, is jarring enough to momentarily take you out of these incredible and enormous worlds you're playing around in. In 2005, TT Games struck oil with LEGO Star Wars the video game. It hasn't quite repeated the same trick with LEGO Star Wars the Skywalker Saga. The pace is too brisk, the story choices bizarre, the voice acting jarring, and there are one too many familiar and perhaps inescapable ingredients in the mix. And yet there's enough here to elevate the Skywalker Saga above and beyond the rest of the studio's LEGO library. It's ambitious, enormous, and perhaps most importantly, fun, whether you're tearing through waves of battle droids or gunning down TIE fighters. We've finally moved beyond the basic formula for LEGO video games for something that feels genuinely fresh, even if all the shiny stuff is on the surface, while still capturing the sense that you're just playing around in a giant toy box. LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga is available now for PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series S, Xbox Series X, Nintendo Switch, and PC. Please check out our dedicated hub for ways to buy and the best version of the game to aim for. Also, please support the work that Brick Fanatics does by purchasing your LEGO through our affiliate links. If you could give us a like, a share, and a subscribe for this video, we would very much appreciate it, and have a lovely day.